Okay, guys, it's Charge and Hey, represent Zoom the TBT, and we are back for season 2. I thought you guys were done with us. We are not yet. Charge, how you doing?
Hey, Ainer, doing fantastic. How's things going for you this year?
I'm fatter. The pandemic has basically closed gyms in New York, so there is more of me to love to talk about basketball. I have the love handles. It's just depressing, to be honest with you.
Same. I know how you feel. Well, hard to believe. I mean, we're already talking about the next edition of the TBT 2021. Time's just flying by. I mean, last year, obviously, TBT came out in first successful run of the bubble. Went down to 24 teams. The competition was amazing. You couldn't get better basketball anywhere in the world than the TBT last summer. Sideline cancer made that dream run. Diener broke their hearts at the end for $1 billion. And you still got the Elam Menden alive and well in the TBT. So don't be afraid to say their name, NBA. But it's been an amazing season last year. Ready to get kicked off in TBT 2021 this year.
Yeah, it was really exciting last year because what we lost in the character of the larger tournament, we gained in the sort of crux, the crucible of some really difficult games. Because, I mean, at 64 teams, you have some stories, you have some upsets, but 24, it's purely just guts ball. So while that was fun, I'm looking forward to having a broader reflection of the basketball community and have a few of our old friends back for the party. And with that, let's sort of kick this off. I want to start off, and again, just as a note, Charge, and I guess we should say we're taping this day before release. We're releasing this on Wednesday. It's currently Tuesday. So the regions are going to be released post-taping, but we're taking a stab. We're taking a guess. So Charge, why don't you talk a little bit about where we think this is going to happen this summer?
Yeah, so Wichita, West Virginia, Columbus, and Peoria, Illinois, home of Bradley University. So, a lot of these, I think people who are close to the TBT circuit kind of assumed the Wichita, West Virginia, Columbus, Peoria, a little bit of a surprise to me, but all three just well-deserving. Wichita obviously setting records. That West Virginia one with West Virginia and heard that leading the way there is going to be incredible. Dayton and Columbus and Carmen's crew always show up in Columbus. And then, Bradley, I would assume is going to be back. So we haven't heard anything on them yet, but you got to assume Bradley's back and Illinois is going to be back again. So fantastic regionals. Couldn't ask for a better start to the tournament.
There's really doubling down on the whole concept of this becoming a little more of alumni tournaments. You notice these are all big college towns. You can guess about the hosts, which we'll talk about when we release the brackets. But these are cities that really embrace the college atmosphere. That was reflected in the brackets, I think, as we start to talk about it. So, Charge, we have some overall number ones we've picked, and I don't think there's really any real surprises on the board here. Starting with the defending champs in Wichita, we're sending the Golden Eagles there to defend their title. What else is your thoughts about these picks?
Yeah, you said there's no surprises.
We have a disagreement.
I am surprised that you have Carmen's crew number one. I have Red Scare Dayton, Red Scare number 2 or number 1, and you got them too. Yeah, the thing is that they're razor thin. The only logic you're giving me is that Carmen's crew has won before, which means zero in this year's TBT. The only way these guys are number 1 is if Solinger comes back and plays. If Solinger doesn't come back and play, I can't give him a number 1. If he does, and have at it, we'll keep a 1. So that's my initial thoughts. No-brainer Golden Eagles, Overseas Elite. It shouldn't be a no-brainer, but there's still people out there who don't know who and what sideline cancer is, and they've been the underdogs every single year, improving every single year, and then topping it off with a final appearance last year. So no surprise there to me, and hopefully if you don't know sideline cancer after last year, you're going to know them again this year.
They were our first interview guests last year. We're hoping to have Billy and hopefully maybe Marcus Keene on for our first actual interview guest. This is our first show for the season, but we're going to do obviously some interviews and other shows that deal with team specific. But they were our first guests, and it was the most wins they ever had in a tournament. So it behooves them to come back on. We've already talked to Billy about getting back with us. I guess we need some shirts for it too. Back to the Carmen's crew thing. Obviously, again, we're in complete agreement on 3 of these. And I think winning they have won a title before. And I think we agree on this. This is one we had a few minor disagreements, and it's worth mentioning to everybody who watches the show. Charge and I have obviously a few differences of opinion, which makes it more fun. We can't agree on everything. But the key thing about this is I personally think having cut down the nets gives them a tie. But we did a true seed line. We took all of our blended ranks and made it an actual 1 to 64 line, and we had Carmen as the overall number 4, or I had them as overall number 4, and Red Scare as the number 5. I believe we just flipped those. We're basically right. And there is about a hair's width. As you can tell from the hat, I'm losing a lot of it. So frankly, that's the width we're talking about. That's the number ones, and you can ask for a better bunch of teams to represent the tournament. And with that, let's just get into this. I mean, we're going to get into Wichita, and I'm going to handle the left, Charge will handle the right. And we got 64 teams, so let's just get rolling. We're going to start off with these Golden Eagles. And again, they cut down the nets. They've been close before. You got Diener shooting. You got just a lot of long, stretchy guys under Joe Chapman's leadership, guys that can really rock it. And hey, right off the bat, the Utah Valor, Keith Kloss, the boss, happy birthday recently. And we're going to have them in as our 16 seed. They're very active on Twitter, work with vets, some good guys. New team here. This one Charge is really, really high on, actually, is the Eastern Washington University Let It Fly crew, playing OGs of the tournament, team favorites, Team 23. We do not have their new symbol yet. We really need to. I didn't get around to that. But Team 23 we have as a 9 seed. They're very dangerous. This is a very loaded left side. Charge. What about the right?
Yeah, so Oklahoma State, Stillwater Stars coming in at 5, taking on the number 12. Who do we have there? Autism Army. So new team here. Really excited about seeing this team. They're going to be a solid new addition. They do have TBT experience, some of the guys there. So really looking forward to seeing them play for their cause, and they're going to be a tough out as well. Number 4, we're going with the Aftershocks. So the home team, usually you'll see these number 1 or these home hosts get more to 1 seed, 2 seed, but you can see how loaded this is. Aftershocks coming in at 4. And then number 13, you have the Misfits. So new team, new name, but no strangers to the TBT with Selby, Roten, and Detman. Those guys can light it up on anybody. And as Hayner mentioned at the beginning, it's just for fun right now as these teams develop. We're going to get to learn a lot more about them. And you mentioned Utah Valor. I hope these guys do get in. They are leading the TBT league in tweets per day. And so these guys are all over it. And I love to see them get in. I know they're working real hard, and hope this is the year it happens.
Yeah, it's definitely really crazy to look at this bracket too, because I mean, you start to realize how these rosters. We're just guessing now. So like you hear a team at a 13 seed with Roten and Selby as a backcourt. I mean, you hear what I just said. A team with Roten and Selby in the backcourt as a 13 seed. This is very much up for grabs how this gets played out as we move on, because that just almost sounds comical as I say it. Okay, to the bottom half of that bracket, we're looking at Team Arkansas. Now, this is a bit of a surprise, but this is going to be a recurring theme, is they were able to flip Jalen Barford, which basically gives them a basketball offensive engine who can isolate up top, or surrounded by shooters, surrounded by scorers. This roster is really coming together already early. So this 2 seed, this is a very, very dangerous team. And as you can see from the Memphis stuff behind me, this was a bit of a sore point. This is Tubby time. Probably I'm going to go ahead and say it, the least successful coach we've ever had in Memphis history in my lifetime. Anyway, point being is they do have a lot of talented players, though, that will play there. Some of Memphis grads, so I probably pissed a few off. But they've already, I believe, signed Royce White, which makes them have a huge engine at the top. This is one that Charge and I are both intrigued by. The enchantment, your New Mexico Lobos alums. This could be a really, really interesting squad playing. And again, this Memphis Tides, the Fort Hood Wounded Warriors. Seb's got a good team together, but I'm really excited about seeing one of my favorite old-time college players of a 12-foot, dunking DJ Steffens, who's just balling out in Europe and can basically jump over entire teams. So I'm very excited about seeing this team in this bracket. Charge, what about the right?
Yeah, so on the right, Matt Mitchell and his squad, Eberline Drive, they're going to come back stronger than ever. Obviously, unfortunately, got bumped last year with COVID protocols, and they got great coaching, great connections in the basketball community. So expect them to come back really strong. True Blue, that Middle Tennessee State team. So before you hit the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about Ja'Cory Williams here. So Ja'Cory's got some tough decisions to make, and so that team Arkansas at number 2, I believe, Barford gets in there alone just because, he took Jackson, Tennessee underdogs all the way to the Elite 8 the one season, just looked amazing. They're a lot more structured, cohesive. It's going to be better coaching this year. If Ja'Cory goes over to Arkansas, they are really a solid number 2 team. I don't think Middle Tennessee is going to have much of a chance, and because you got heard that, which Ja'Cory ran last year and dominated the TBT and worked really well in their system. So a lot of Ja'Cory Williams connections on this slide.
And where do you play in the G League?
Ja'Cory and the can. This is actually a pretty nice charge page right here because if Eberline gets JP Makura back and then Ja'Cory with the charge, you got Alex Kirk with the enchantment with the charge, DJ Steffens with the charge. So this is a nice charge page here. I'm really enjoying this one.
I actually love the fact that like between the two of us, I know college ball, I know G League because we don't know much of anything the other way. It's kind of hilarious actually. Okay, so this is interesting. Charge, explain this one a little bit.
Yeah, there's just a lot of question marks in this particular regional. So obviously, Team Colorado's played in the past and has played really well. If they show up with a full team, they're probably better than a 6. But we're kind of placeholding this one because you still have Self-Made, who you would hope with something going on in Wichita, Self-Made's there. You got Purple and Black, and so there's a lot of question marks here on some good regional teams that would fit really well in the Wichita bracket. So obviously, if those 2-3 teams come in, some of the folks at the bottom are going to be squeezed real tight, and then another new team, the Hurricanes alumni team, Category 5, and so they're going to be a strong team as well.
I mean, what I'm really curious, I mean, what's really interesting about this, what do you call it? The bottom of this with the Miami team is, are they going to go ahead and get Shane Larkin? So I just saw he's just ripping up the Turkish league, and I'm really curious if they can get Larkin because that would really bump that seed line up a couple lines if they can get Larkin. He's also a one-man engine of a team, basically. Yep. Pretty interesting little bracket here. And I will say this, like we did a true seed line, and a lot of the 2-3s are also really tight. And this one was splitting hairs. Like Eberline and Team Arkansas are, again, we're splitting hairs here.
Yeah, the thing with Eberline is they're going to be good. They're going to be a top seed. It's just they have been turning their roster, kind of reinventing. And then a lot of some of the guys from last year, have some NBA action. A lot of maybe get pulled away like JP. So a lot of question marks there. So until we see that roster, 3 is a respectable seed. And Barford's going to get Arkansas deep.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so that is Wichita. Let's go ahead and get to our next region. We're talking about West Virginia. This is going to be in Charleston. And our boys, we're going to find Herdbat here. We're going to find Ott, our friend there. But we're going to start with Overseas Elite. And they're the franchise. And even though they haven't gone as deep recently, they've had to rebuild because a lot of their people have stopped playing due to the fact they've been there, done that. Once you win 4 titles, what's there left to prove? So they're kind of rebuilding. They get ISO Joe back. They get Bobby Brown back. They get these guys back. They're going to be a factor. The question is just it's going to be almost a thrown together roster. Will the cohesion work? But they're going to be there to play. They're going to be dangerous. The founding fathers, the JMU alum. Not sure much about this roster, but down near the bottom, we're talking about teams. We're kind of fishing at this point. They'll probably have a decent roster. They're there for now. It could go up, could go down, but they're definitely going to be someone to play. This one's interesting. The NC State alums, the Wolf Blood at the 8th seed. They're a new team. NC State's got a lot of alums they can tap. Could be an interesting way to roll. And then, of course, one of the favorites of the pod, the term everybody, the primetime players. And they've been nice enough to actually give us some insight about their roster. And they always have a game and ready-to-play roster. But there's been some intriguing additions they might be announcing, which really might level up the players into a real factor in this bracket. Charge, on the right, what do we got?
Right, Team Brotherly Love. So yeah, these guys are kind of TBT fixtures. They're always coming in with a solid squad, a consistent squad, a team that plays together. Obviously, last year didn't work as well as they wanted to, and so I expect them to be bigger and stronger than ever before. St. John's, this is they had a team in the past. When they had some of those pods out there, and St. John's played. So this is kind of not getting rebranded, but still a St. John's team, has a new GM. So look for them to come back strong. Some of the names I hear being tossed around, really, really good. So I expect the St. John's team to be very competitive if it comes together. The money team coming as 4. So this one here, I think, was one of the shocks of the tournament. Looks like
they got housed. They got housed.
It was shocking. Thomas Welsh, I guess, went cold in the second half. He was killing it, and then heard that wasn't bending. They weren't breaking. They were ready to go. But Jordan Crawford, obviously, one of the most clutch shooters in TBT history, and he's got a stable of guys he can call upon. So this is almost like an overseas elite team. We don't know what the roster is going to be, but they're going to be solid, and if they play to their full potential, they're going to be really hard to beat. And Broad Street Brawler. So I've been following these guys for a long time with the TBT, and same thing. Always comes up with a a solid team. They kind of really launched some of that Dayton fan base when they had those guys originally. Obviously, Red Scare, kind of took that over with that core group of guys, and it's been solid. But Broad Street's always ready to go, and we'll put on a good show for everybody.
So yeah, top half of this, a lot of really good quality. I mean, you see some real Philly toughness on the right, some real Northeast. There's a real vibe of there's gonna be a lot of elbows on that right side, whereas like a lot of guts and pressure on the left. This is gonna be a really interesting sort of sub-regional final. Bottom half of this, now we get to sort of, obviously friend of the pod, God among men, Ott Elmore, and heard that. Can he check ISO joke? Can he make America love him again? Betting against Ott's kind of a loser's deal. And when we were doing these brackets, I kept moving them up. I had them lower, and Charge, I kept talking, and I moved them up a seed line every time we chatted, and this is where they ended up. They have a pretty quality squad. The Ja'Cory Williams question, though, I mean, if you don't get Ja'Cory, this might hurt their seed. We'd have to replace him. That'd be something up. Friend of the pod, great team, always there. Get your popcorn ready. Showtime. Seed be damned, they come to play. If Heard That ignores this game, they would get fucked up. So Showtime is here to ball. They don't fuck around. D2, always interesting quality. We have a couple of alumni mixed regional things. As a D3 guy myself, I like seeing the D2 and D3 guys. We always forget that basketball is played at all levels, and there's some really solid Division II guys who make money overseas, who play out, who play really well. Playing one of the number one seeds in our early bracketology last year, Florida TNT, they ended up making it. Last year, they ended up, I believe they had a really good roster, started getting cannibalized as it tightened to 24 and weren't able to make it. But Terry Hughes is going to have a squad, and he always brings a squad, and that's going to be a really intriguing first round matchup. Charge on the right.
Yeah, so West Virginia staring across that, Heard That. So, I mean, obviously that's the story, this West Virginia regional. And I'm looking forward to getting down to West Virginia, seeing these games. It's going to be just an electric environment, and they're going to have everybody showing up for these games. If you're a basketball fan and you live anywhere close to West Virginia, this is where it's going to be at.
Or if you're me and you're 9 hours away, still get there. By the way, not that I've looked, but hotel rooms in that region are about $90 a night downtown. In case you're pricing these things, yeah, they'll be playing.
My guys, the Underground Kings. Yeah, this team here last year, they were going to be the sleeper team that everyone was talking about. Unfortunately, COVID hit, 24 teams. It is what it is. But, this one here is a great fit for West Virginia. So, like I said, we took a stab at, where teams may fit in well. But they're going to have some good West Virginia flavor there. Some of their guys coming from, like, Fairmont State. And, this is a perfect first-round matchup for TBT. You get those West Virginia kind of flavored guys and battle it out. And I really hope they're getting a team again this year. I haven't seen anything recently, but they were well organized last year. So let's fingers crossed they're back. I love what they're doing there. Power to Paw, friend of the pod as well.
Nick, what's up?
Solid matchup here versus the 11 team. Overlooked. So this one here, I mean, if this matchup plays out, Overlooked, I mean, 11 may be way too big of a number for Overlooked. Kanan himself can, take over a game. Buchanan, Aska, these guys are looking fantastic. The only thing that would make me want to pull Kanan from Overlooked is the Unix overseas team. They have Jordan Morgan, they have John Holland, they've got Kanan. I would love to see one of these high level overseas teams just bring that squad into the summer. They would have amazing chemistry, and it would be a hard team to beat. So I'm still plugging for that. So still plugging for Jordan Morgan to get into TBT someday with Big X. But if not, I would love to see that Unix team come together.
I like the idea of also just bringing over a foreign team. Like, just it'd be cool if Real Madrid just came over or Barcelona came over and said, hey, Team Barcelona, let's see what happens. That'd be kind of hilarious because that might be
it'd be interesting.
Okay, we're halfway home, Charge. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I mean, looking at these teams, it's great to be talking about TBT again, and these brackets are wild. I mean, even for a first cut, envisioning some of these matchups is just wild.
Yeah, and you might see it later. We kind of moved moved a seed line here and there to make a matchup. Because as I always say, like the TBT is 99% real sports and 1% pro wrestling. You will move things for a matchup. This is entertainment. Halfway home, let's go to Columbus, Charge, your home state of Ohio.
Yeah.
Star of Carmen's crew, and we already had that argument. But either way, whether it's here or Red Scare, you're talking about a really good squad, and they will face. This is a new team, the American Beast, a mixed alumni team. A lot of American East franchise trying to get players together. We don't know anything about the roster yet, really, but this could be an intriguing thing. I always like to see low major blends try to hang with some big boys. It's always interesting. This is one Charge is really excited about.
Oh, yeah.
It's a blue collar U. Nate Oates, who now coaches at Alabama, had a short run there where he got some really good players who are now, actually now able to go ahead and play professionally. This could be a really tough, really grindy kind of team playing Drew League favorites, the LA Cheaters. And really, the LA Cheaters, the question always is, Charge, your boy, is he going to play for him? That's always your question, right?
If he shows up, Cheaters win. Casper Ware.
Where will Casper Ware play? It's always a roster construction thing, too. So we're guessing about people where they're going to play. And is he going to play for them, or you run it back with the team Challenge ALS? That's the question, right? Speaking of which, on the right side.
Yeah, so we have Auburn War Ready. So this one here, obviously fully rebranded from Tampa 2020, and highly disappointing showing last year. And Matt will admit that. But the good news here is they have a true identity this year. Yeah. There's no halfway in, halfway out. They got new coaching. They have a just solid line of solid Auburn players. And, this team here, I think, is going to, warrant a 5 at least. And we'll see how those last few players come in when they start announcing that. But we got the St. Bonaventure, brown and white.
Favorite of yours.
And yeah, like I said, I'm a Western New York guy. I grew up in a little town called Silver Creek. So, when I see blue collar U on one side, St. Bonaventure on the other side, I still think blue collar U should have gone with Bulls Mafia, kind of play off the Bills Mafia thing. But blue collar U,
not too late to rebrand. It really
no, I'm all in for Bulls Mafia on that side. But we'll see how it goes. But yeah, I just love this bracket, and we'll get to these last two teams. But you just have to look at this and be like, just kind of amazed at what we're looking at. Team ALS, that goes without saying. Sean Marshall and those guys. I mean,
Sean Marshall, though, he retired, right? So this is an interesting rebuild, right? They're going to have to.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I assume he's still involved, but I haven't heard anything.
Involved, yes, but I thought he retired. I mean, is this going to be a rebuilding year? I mean, they're still going to have a great squad. Let's be very clear. They're going to be a force, but
another one. They got the connections and the cause where people are going to want to play with them and be there. So
damn good cause. In fact, probably the most famous cause team. Them and Salt Lake Cancer's cause teams are great. Speaking of which, here we go.
The Buccaneers. Yeah, so this one here, Broad Street Brawlers has some competition on the skull logo now, so they're not the only one. I would have liked to see these two matched up and get a little hardcore there, but this team here, like I said, could be a solid squad with the Eastern Tennessee folks, but, I mean, you look at this is just half of a bracket, and it's just stupid good. I mean, you cannot argue with the talent sitting here in the TBT.
Absolutely not. Bottom half of this. Okay, Charge. I'm doing the left, but go ahead. Again, you talk Red Scare. Again, I think they're basically co-number ones. I flipped them. Go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Yeah, no, the deal with it, and you'll see what the TBT is, they usually reward, current performance and, more recent history a little bit higher. So to beat a man, you got to beat the man. And, last year's Final Four teams, you cannot make an argument that those same Final Four teams are not all one seeds this year. So that has a little bit something to do with my logic. I'm from Ohio, love rooting for Ohio State, but it's just Red Scare deserves it based on their last year performance. And not only because last year, but, they've had 2 solid years in a row, and they still got some good opportunity to pick up some guys. So I know they haven't been able to land Scoochie yet, but let's get Scoochie on here, get a couple more bodies filled in there. Another solid run for Red Scare.
I will say this, though. This is also the only number one we discussed as being even a question, because the other 3 I think are pretty sad.
Yeah. Great.
Okay. They'll be playing. Hey, so we got Melvin, our boy, the Bearcat.
Melvin, again, as you can helicopter Levitt.
From the Memphis Gear, I will almost never root for a Bearcat team because, I mean, I grew up hating these people. All he's got to do is get Steve Logan involved, and I'll just start cursing and throwing things. But the reality is, look, the tournament's better if a Cincy team's in because they have a great fan base, and it pains me to say because I hate them so much that they're a great fan base. So having them in would be very beneficial. Friends of the pod, one of our favorite teams, Jimmy V, really snake bit last year. Were a COVID replacement that then got COVID bounce. I mean, you can't even write this crap. But I mean, they're always come to play. They always recruit well. Vinny and they got a good bunch of guys. They're always a force. Playing your boys, the Mid-American Unity, right?
Oh, Mid-American. Oh, yeah. Let me just talk on this side real quick because I love this side.
This is your side. Go ahead.
Red Scare. I mean, Bearcat Jam. Melvin just brings a lot of energy and excitement to anything he does. So I hope they get a little more organized this year and they can put a team together. I know Vinny's going to yell about being a number 7 seed.
No, he's not.
It don't matter where you rank him. He's going to think we got snubbed. But Vinny's awesome, and we've really got to love working with these guys in the past. And Mid American Unity, obviously our hometown guys here up in the 330, Mike Perini, and puts together a great team. But who knows where these seeds are going to land? But Red Scare versus Mid American Unity again, and probably one of the best games ever in the TBT. Love to see that as a second round game again this year. But we'll see how it goes out. But hopefully it's not against Jimmy V, and our seeds are going to be off because they both deserve to move
this
on.
is early. The seeds are a disaster still.
But yeah, Jimmy V, hands down, their team and their brand, their stock probably rose more than anyone last year. I think they went from, well down the list, to, holy cow, these guys are putting together an amazing squad to get some NBAers on their team. Devin Kennedy, amazing player, good guy. I would say these guys, their stock rose more than anybody last year.
I will say this too. It's just a quick aside because days rose. I mean, and it's just different levels. So I would say that D2 with their first round win, really their stock rose a lot. I think they're a stock riser. And I also think even though they're already a factor, already a well-beloved team, I think the biggest riser might be Sideline. Because even though they're a factor and a mid-range team, they've become elite. So I would say that Jimmy V rose from a nice team to a factor, and Sideline rose from a factor to a favorite, I think, is the slight difference. But yeah, I mean, Jimmy V is one of the teams that definitely their stock rose much. Okay, so talking about the wrong direction. Speaking of the other side, Big X. Big X.
Yeah, these guys are always fun to watch. The biggest regret ever is Jay Sean Tate not being able to play with COVID last year. Obviously, I think he's going to be out. He's taking the full advantage of his NBA situation. But these guys are going to have once again, those good young fellas. They're going to come in and they played tough last year. They played tough every year, and they're going to have a good squad. So you can't argue with anything they have.
What's funny about this is that last year they were upset by D2, so we figured, hey, let's just go ahead and see if the different division level might be of their liking.
Yeah, and just like D2, you can't sleep on D3. They come out every year. They played good ball, had some tough seeds. So we're trying, Mike. We got to get you out of that 16 line and get you up a couple notches. And this is a team that can beat anybody on any given day. They're well coached and disciplined team, and you don't want to take those guys lightly.
So the biggest pleasure of the pandemic as far as basketball went is actually I went up state briefly, and I was able to actually hang out with Reg outside because it's safe during COVID. So we had a beer and talked about this. Reg is the GM of D3. And one thing that's interesting is how they scheme, because they're not going to have the most talented team, but they're not going to get really out coached by many teams. So they're definitely a factor too. It's coaching. Okay, what do we got here?
CP3. So yeah, these guys came up and played some good ball last year as well. And same thing. Obviously, CP3, friend of the tournament, big advocate of the Elam ending. Good pool for talent. So they're going to show up. They're going to be good, and they'll be sitting in a nice position wherever once we see that land. And then we got the Xavier team, the Zip 'em Up TBT. So I'm really looking forward to this team. There's so many teams, but out of the new ones, I love the Ohio teams, obviously. And, if they can steal JP away from Eberline, that's going to be fantastic. And it could end up being a really good team. The only thing I'm concerned with is one of their fans was talking about being sponsored by Skyline Chili, of all places, which is the absolute worst, nastiest stuff in America. So please make your roster better than Skyline Chili and avoid it like the plague.
There's this article once that ranked states' foodstuffs, and Ohio's most famous food, unfortunately, I guess, this article was Skyline Chili, and it ranked them all by state and 50 states, and number 50 was getting hit by a bus. And number 51 was Skyline Chili, which I thought was pretty hilarious.
The first time I made it to Cincinnati in my life, people hyped us so much, and I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
And it would take a bracket collapse here, but I would actually also, because I'm a big fan of physical violence in games, and I think the idea of like having Cincy and Xavier alums just play, it'd take a bracket collapse, but that would be a hilarious game because that would be like thrown bottles. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah, no, good call out on that. So staring across the brackets from each other, that'd be a lot of fun.
I mean, it'd take a collapse, but still. Okay. Last region, one to go. So if you haven't seen your team yet, I mean, granted, this isn't final, but maybe you're starting to feel a slight sweat. It's early, so don't really feel bad about it, but start to sweat a little bit. So you're 1 seed here, Sideline Cancer. Look, Keen's a champion. He just won a title in Europe. Creek, Keen, Thompson, Abel. I mean, it's just too many weapons. And I heard they're a real factor in the transfer market. We talk about the NCAA transfer market, but I mean, they're in the market for a couple, stretch 4 type guys. Some guys can really play out more outside. Let Thompson be more of a dive man, 4 out, 5 out. That could be a really even more dangerous squad. They get one more guy, they might be actually one of the favorites to win the whole damn thing. Hey, what's up? Our boys, the Brooklyn Vultures. They had mentioned, we had asked, what seed do you belong? And they just said, we just want to get in. And I've seen them play in person, actually. I was down in Richmond, and they have a lot of passion. They don't always have the most talented team, but they will come, they will play, and they'll give Sideline a nice little workout to get the sweat flowing. Okay, Heartfire. Is Isaiah also going to play? Are they going to run an actual Baylor alum team off their championship season? What are they going to do here? Always a Brave. This is definitely the lowest rated quasi-host team we have. They would probably get in as a host. They're definitely going to be a factor, but we don't really know much about the roster. We're assuming if it's in Peoria, we're assuming that the Always a Brave team is going to be one of the factors. Charge.
All right, so Bayheim's Army. This one here looks a little odd, sitting on the 5 line. And this is another one. We just got to see what comes out of it. Last year, COVID knocked some guys out. They were retooling. They're aging a little bit, and knowing Kevin, I'm sure he's got some aces up his sleeve, and they got some good young guys. If they can get worked into their summer TBT team, they're going to be solid. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't move up from a 5, but just too many unknowns right now, and we'll see. I compare these guys a little bit to Carmen's crew, where they're both kind of evolving a little bit, and so that's why they shouldn't be a 1 seed either.
I will say this though, I watch more Syracuse than anything besides Memphis because my girlfriend's a Cuse fan, and I will say this: like the idea, they've gotten a lot of mileage out of running a top 1-4 with Eric Devendorf being their primary and at times almost sole offensive engine, and he is still a factor in this tournament. I assume he'll still be playing as a factor, but like, do they want to continue to make him shoulder the same amount of load he's had to hold every term he's played in? And I think they need to find a secondary option. I think adding a guy like Dolajai to run things from the elbow could really help them if Merritt comes out of college and wants to play with them this summer. I mentioned I'm a fan of physical violence. Charge, can you tell this story, or do I need to?
No, you need to tell this one. Okay. You were there, so take it over.
My first, we've both been big tournament guys forever. My very first trip to the tournament was down in Philly to watch 20th only and Bayheim's play. Again, my girlfriend's a Cuse fan. I said, let's go drive to Philly. It's a 2-hour drive. And I saw the aforementioned Eric Devendorf go in the lane, get kind of pounded, and then I think try to fight the entire roster. And it's good natured. Like, it wasn't like a lasting thing. They shook hands after. Nobody cared. But it was at Philadelphia University outside Philly. And the funniest part of this whole thing is like watching that level of passion in this tournament. That's when I realized this is a real thing. This is a few years back. I think it's one of 20th only's first times back. Then this is also a good time to mention we did screw with the seeds a little occasionally. 20th only is I explicitly will say is seated too low. They're seated a line, maybe even two too low. I just know that. But I was not going to give up seeing a rematch of that game. I'm not missing that. Charge, what do you got?
All right, so 4 armored athletes. So this was one of the craziest runs last year from they're in, they're out, they're in, they're out. Are they on the bubble? They're not on the bubble. And it was a real nail biter last year, ultimately got in. I mean, turning crazy people on their roster, shows up, plays some really great ball. So obviously AJ, has been around the block, knows how to put a team together, just really weathered the storm nicely. And that just goes to show why armored athletes a fixture in
a
this
lifestyle,
tournament.
a lifestyle
fixture and a lifestyle. So, they're probably one of the more fun teams. Obviously, everyone who follows the TBT knows Jess, and she's been on the show. And just a great team, not only talent-wise, but just the fun organization. And they put the best basketball out there and have a great time doing it.
What's the roster question, though? You know what the roster question is, the main one. Machado, right? Machado.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about this earlier before the show. Yeah, so, and I think that's going to be interesting in a lot of cases. We already talked about the Ja'Cory Williams situation, but there was a lot of, transfers last year. And so Machado would typically play for Gale Nation, which I don't believe we talked about them yet. We will here shortly, but.
Don't give up the bracket, Charge.
I'm talking about Machado. I gotta,
I know. I'm just talking with you.
Yeah. So, where will he go? And there's a handful of solid players last year. Without naming them all, that were already lined up for a team and then had to move based on COVID and getting on one of those top 24 teams and having a shot at that $1 million. So can't fault them, can't blame them. But do you stick with the good run like Jacory had, or do you go back to your original commitments with the team that you had? So Machado, Jacory, probably two of the top players who, moved teams last year.
It's really funny when you do this too, because there's some teams that you just love because win, lose, or draw, they're going to come to play and they're going to bring, need I say, some flavor to the proceedings.
Flavor, kimchi, all aboard the kimchi
all aboard the Express.
If this matchup ever happens, I don't even know. I'm gonna have to get one of those shirts that are split in half with Armored Athlete and Kimchi. These two, like I said, just fun people, and the TBT community is as big as the tournament is and everything going on. The TBT community is pretty small, and you get to learn some of the teams and the players and the GMs, and these two here, we've had a blast over the years, and Daniel has done an amazing job kind of evolving this team from just some guys having fun out there to seeing how they needed to evolve, just like you saw with Eberline and some of the other teams, and to put some real solid professionals into place, and they were looking great last year. Guys like Trey Davis, who could score from anywhere, and so looking forward to seeing what they do this year. And I would not be surprised if their roster and their coaching does not blow some people away. So they were lining up some of the best coaches in the country last year, and so yeah, Kimchi, all aboard.
Also, that's actually, if this were to hold, besides the fact, obviously, they're both friends of the pod. We love AJ, Daniel, and everybody involved in both programs. Is that these are two of the smartest marketing teams in TBT, both of them. These are two of the programs that really get their brand out there really well. I mean, it's just kind of amazing. So yeah, you've got the love fest on the bottom half and the fist fight up top and a bunch of cause stuff. This is a great bracket. 8 to go, Charge. We're almost done. We're almost home. Okay, House of Pain. I actually am a Illinois alum. That's where I got my master's from. So I will definitely not root against House of Pain. The question boils down: Can I hold my Dom? That's it. I mean, can they hold Dom? That's there's free agency. Does he end up going somewhere else? That's a real factor on their ability to play inside out or outside in, basically, to have a long shooter like that. PR All-Stars, if we're going to be in PR, let's bring them back. And also the fact is they stepped in, which is a thankless task as being one of the replacement teams, and stepped in and put up a fight. And that was something that was asked of them, and they were able to contribute. So I think if it's going to be a home court, we got to reward the guys who came to play last year. Metamaki, Purdue, great fan base, Midwestern, a lot of talent there, definitely going to be a factor. And here we go, Gale Nation, and this boils down to it. They get Machado. The seed feels about 3-4 spots too low. He is a force into himself. So it really becomes, that is the question. And you know that the guys that run Gale and guys that run Armored Athlete are actually pretty tight. They're good guys. So the question is how are they going to negotiate? It's going to flip a coin. They're going to gamble this. How are they going to figure this out? Okay, 4 to go, Charge. What we got?
Yeah, so on this side, we have Team Hines, and this is another one, overseas pros. Will Hines play this year? Calathis play this year? I got a feeling that they will, and if they definitely do, it's game-changing. It could be moving up a little bit from a 3 seed, and depending on who returns from Illinois, could flip spaces there, but they're going to have a team of pros. Obviously, they had some Brandon Paul last year showed up for them, did an amazing job, one of the top scorers, and they're going to be good. And they're going to take on the Castle Guardians of Virginia Tech. So this one here, they were looking to get in the past, I think, 2 years, at least last year. And, so just trying to get them to form. Don't know a lot about them, but obviously these alumni teams, they show up. If they can show, some good organization early, then they got a really good shot at getting into TBT. So this one here is probably out of all the teams on the list, the one I probably know the least about right now. So we'll see if they can get everything together and get into the tournament.
If this is the actual selection show, there'd be a lot of teams just sweating bullets right now.
Fort Wayne champs. That's what I'm talking about. So Garrett and his band of brothers from Fort Wayne always show up with a great team. They were putting together a great team last year before the COVID and everything started going down. So he'll be back. I got a feeling they may have a new coach coming in who would be game changing for the Fort Wayne champs. They would just add a whole nother level of professionalism and energy. So stay tuned for that. But Fort Wayne champs, always a contender in the TBT, and they would take on.
This is our last team. So if this is the one
last
you're waiting
team, if
for,
you're not called, blame Hainer. Louisiana United, and I don't know, Hainer kind of did these final matchups, but he put a lot of friends of the pod together. So Louisiana United, Tyron Johnson, obviously we believe is going to be playing with these guys. It looks like, and they probably have one of the. They played in probably the most controversial game in TBT history against overseas elite.
You don't make that call.
We let's not even go down that path this year. It's we've overplayed that one, and but it was an amazing game. It was crazy, and these guys will show up. But this Bradley bracket is going to be amazing. I was fortunate enough to go see the Big Ten title game in Indianapolis this year.
So jealous.
Illinois and Ohio State do battle, and I'm thinking Ohio State, no problem. Me and my son get down there. I mean, I couldn't even find Ohio State in the crowd. It must have been 10-1 Illinois fans versus Ohio State fans. So these guys travel extremely well regionally. So they are going to absolutely pack, especially with their success recently. A lot of energy around the Illini. I cannot wait to see these guys travel into Peoria and take over this bracket. So it's going to be fun to watch, exciting to watch. Their fan base was really cool to see down there in Indianapolis.
Peoria is 1 hour and 23 minutes driving time from Champaign-Urbana.
Yeah, they're gonna just invade the city. It's gonna be
nuts. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of orange. Okay, so we made some guesses. Let's be honest here. A couple of things you should realize is like this is the first hit. So we're just doing a draft. This is more to drive involvement, get you guys excited. This is not our final guesses. I mean, hell, we don't even know the rosters. We don't know the teams. So there's some teams we just don't know the status of. And it's going to start with a little bit of a bummer because without Barford, are the Underdogs a viable franchise? And that's an open question. Charles, what are you looking at here? What interests you here?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of, who shows up. So I think there's going to be a lot of teams who have played in the past who are hungry. I mean, the region's always put in some good teams. Team Utah, for that, I think is probably fully transferred to the money team, some of those core guys. But obviously there's always the craze around Jimmer. And if they can field a team again, that would be something to be seen. So just, a lot of question marks. So hard to read into it, but it just shows, even though we're 64 deep, those teams have been in the TBT. Majority of them have been in the TBT before. And so it's just going to show how tight it is because some of these teams start pulling into the TBT. Some of those folks on the bubble are going to be getting pulled out. So just watch and see. I think it's going to be a pretty short application period this year. So I think as we get towards the beginning of May, application period will open up. And so if you're a new team, get your team in. If you don't think they already have a big board down at the TBT global headquarters plotting out 64 teams, you're crazy. So I've seen people in the past try to say, well, I'm going to hold out and, announce my roster. Don't do that. Get it out there, get the buzz going, show them that you're organized and ready to go. But we'll see who shows up, but pretty phenomenal.
I'll just make my usual pitch. If anybody really wants to get this Memphis team running again, for the love of God, I'm willing to help. Can we get this guys back together? This is driving me nuts. It's killing me. Chris Crawford, Adonis Thomas, who's probably going to play with Eberline. I don't promise me with a good time. Don't threaten me with a good time. Okay, so talk about the cut line. Last four in, last four out. And again, this is early, so this cut line really can move around. But let's talk a little bit about what's happening here. So some fan favorite type stuff. The Valor and the Brooklyn Vultures are kind of no guts, no glories types. What else you see in here? I know you were talking about Great Lakes Elite at one point last year.
This is the Hainer does not like Ohio slide is what I'm going to
I don't
really frame this up to. So hoops for the Alex's Lemonade Stand. Local guys running that. They do have some experience with the TBT. Connected a little bit to Tampa 2020 and doing some training with them. But these guys are going to have a solid team of professionals. This is one where, like I said, it will probably be a bubble team no matter how you look at it. Should be the first year. They're going to have good professional players, so they're going to have to make a case early. And same with Great Lakes Elite. They were evolving really nicely last year before they, went down to 24 teams. But I'm really a big fan of hoops for the Alex's Lemonade Stand. So if I had to pick one of these four, definitely that's the one to watch right now from my standpoint. Boo Williams was great, put together a great team. But, once again, last year, I think they were trying to combine with who was that team they were trying to combine with to try to get in?
I don't even remember. I know you're talking about it's on the tip of my tongue, but my tongue.
Oh, and they got a skull too. All right, so we've got three skulls.
I think Boo was my last team out, but I mean, yeah, this just shows you even with teams not entering yet and us not knowing the entire field or not even knowing what's going to exactly happen, this cut line's already pretty tight because like the teams on both sides of this are going to be quality teams. So even if you're not on this cut line, there's time to get above or below it right now. So we're going to see what happens. You start adding a self-made, you start adding a purple, a black. For the love of God, if you add a Bluff City, you're going to start seeing the cut line get tighter. Another thing to remember too is we did do a true seed line, but stories do matter. So there's teams that are closer to the 14, 15 line that might be safer than teams around the 12, 13 because entertainment matters, organization matters, not just quality of play. So if you've proven you'll play, and you're proving you have a story, you might be safer even as a 15 than a 13 that might sweat. Key to know that. That's mentioning that, the cut line isn't exactly linear in an event like this. That's fair to say, right, Charge?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you hit the high points there, and especially if you're an alumni team, a true alumni team with a large fan base, a large following. Those are things that TBT look at, and so I think this year we're probably going to have the largest number of alumni teams, probably pushing that 40 number out of 64 teams. We could get that high of alumni teams, and so that leaves just 24 spots for some of the non-alumni teams, and you already have probably 8 to 10 of those with people who've been into TBT forever, like the sidelines, the Eberlines. And so, I mean, it just shows how quickly those 64 spots go. So you got to come and bring it from application period on.
Okay, so I mean, that's kind of our initial thoughts. Charge, what are you looking most forward to this season? I mean, for me, it's just we get to go watch basketball again. Like I don't know about you, we've been talking about this. We're gonna try to do in-person coverage. I can't wait to watch these games somewhere with people and like be in the stadium again. I just can't wait. I'm so excited about that. Charge, what are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, I think you framed it up really nice at the beginning. Is just to get some of the character back to the TBT. Like I said, I really enjoyed last year at 24 teams.
Fantastic.
But I don't want it to be 24 teams. I want it to be 64. I know you're a kind of spread the wealth type of guy, and you want 96 teams and all sorts of craziness. But I'm looking forward to getting that color of teams back. Some of the people who have been fixtures in here that missed out last year and something to prove this year. And obviously seeing it in person is going to be fantastic. So Hainer and I probably plan on going to the same regionals this year. So we'll be on site and having a good time covering yet, just spending some time together watching some great basketball. So it's going to be fantastic.
Already got the girlfriend's permission to go at least one weekend, possibly too.
Right.
She's gonna make me pay for it, but I'll tell her I'm watching Bayheims mainly. Okay, Charge, any last thoughts or should we close it out?
No, go ahead and close it out. Looking forward to everyone getting engaged this year. So let's hear it. If you don't like Hainer's picks, let him have it. And feel free to agree with all of mine because we know all the bad picks, all the bad seeds are Hainer's, and all the good ones are mine. So really look forward to getting back out there this year and just having a good time. TBT is one of those events that nothing like it in the world. From just the pure entertainment standpoint, world class basketball. So
yeah,
let's have some fun this year.
Okay, and quick plug. Obviously, we're going to be doing this semi-weekly again. We're going to try to do as many shows as our schedules allow on a relatively irregular basis. If you've enjoyed the show, feel free to hit us up. We're going to definitely be curating our guest list. We're definitely Sidelines one of the people we're trying to get on early because of last year's run. But we're definitely open to having some guests and talking about some things. So hit us up on the Twitter at ZoomTheTBT. and at Charge Nation and at Andrew D. Hayner. And I guess that's it. So Charge, I guess we're done here. So we're signing off. Season 2, Episode 1, our first Bracketology, and we'll see you chuckleheads soon. Peace.